World of Warcraft is less of an actual world and more of a tapestry stitched together by distinctive, colorful areas, each with their own stories and characters. Surviving a new zone is one of the most tangible rewards for leveling. When your character gets stronger, you get to see more cool stuff. Everyone has their favorite spots on the map, and the great cataclysm of 2010 changed a great deal of the World of Warcraft forever, so this list will be different for every WoW player. But after 10 years in Azeroth, these are the 10 zones we at GT love to call home. The former homeland of the Frostwolf clan, NAGRAND is a melancholy sense of legacy and beauty. With comparable geography to the Barrens being a savanna, NAGRAND is mostly made up of rolling green plains, floating islands, and a sky burning with pink and violet. While there are no dungeons or raids in NAGRAND, there is a plethora of opportunities for combat. The city of Hala is a contested city constantly under attack for control, and the Nezingwari base camp frequently sees bloody battles between Horde and Alliance players. NAGRAND is a strangely beautiful place to us, and we can't wait to return to it in Warlords of Draenor. In 2007, millions of players wondered what awaited them in Burning Crusade, the eagerly anticipated first expansion. Although many were captivated by Blizzard's take on high fantasy, which permeated the original zones of World of Warcraft, the mystical realm of Outland offered more creative possibilities than ever. ZANGARMARSH is one of the most alien areas of them all. A pervasive blue hue lends a sense of both tranquility and uneasiness. The squid-like spore walkers look like they belong in War of the Worlds and blend in perfectly amongst the enormous fungi littered throughout the zone. Although ZANGARMARSH doesn't have the best quests, we'll always look at it fondly because of how it truly makes us feel like we're on another planet. When WoW originally launched in 2004, the massive maelstrom taunted players on the map as an unreachable location. It wasn't until 6 years later that we would get the chance to venture through the enigmatic rift and enter the cavernous DEEPHOLM, resting place of the infamous dragon Deathwing. Lined with caves, tunnels, and endless passageways, it's up to you to repair the world pillar and seal the rift between the elemental plane and Azeroth. Despite being relatively large compared to other zones, DEEPHOLM is a claustrophobic descent into uncharted territory. The ancestral homeland of the Night Elves, ASHENVALE Forest is filled with ancient trees, caves, and ruins. However, parts of the forest were destroyed with the fires of industry from the Horde and corrupted from other factions, including the Burning Legion. Being one of the first contested zones in the game, it would often be the first time players of the opposing faction would interact with each other, resulting in countless deaths. Eventually, one of the first battlegrounds was created around the idea of Horde versus Alliance fighting over ASHENVALE, called Warsong Gulch. As the first zone players arrive at in the Mists of Pandaria expansion, the Jade Forest sets the tone for the rest of the adventure exceptionally well. The area is filled with lush rainforests and stone spires, and beautiful rivers flow through the trees. Pandaren buildings such as monasteries, temples, and farmlands can be found gracing the forest floor and atop spires that create some truly jaw-dropping vistas. The Jade Forest will fascinate any visitor that manages to get past the mist that surrounds the continent. After spending time in your starting zone for the first few levels as a Horde player, you're finally let off the leash when you arrive in the Barrens. While it may not be aesthetically pleasing, the zone plays an integral part in every player's journey to max level. It marks the first time that players need to group together to finish certain quest lines, like the famed counterattack, and features a great social hub in the form of the Crossroads. Wailing Caverns is also the first sprawling dungeon with multiple layers, drops, and bosses. The region was hit hard by Deathwing during the events of Cataclysm, and split in two by molten lava. One of the last zones players encountered on their way to WoW's first level cap of 60 was the lush Ungoro Crater. Heading west through the Great Desert of Teneris, one would hardly expect the topography to suddenly drop into a misty cavern full of hostile gorillas and stampeding dinosaurs, but it shows how unexpected and diverse the zones of Azeroth can be. A reference to the novel The Lost World, and more specifically, the 70s TV show Land of the Lost, Ungoro is one of the most lush areas in the game. HILLSBRAD Foothills was home to many towns including South Shore, the Horde settlement Terran Mill, and HILLSBRAD itself. HILLSBRAD Foothills became a crossroad between Alliance players and Horde players, which resulted in constant battles between the two factions. The zone became so infamous over the years that Blizzard decided to create a battleground based on the brawls that took place there called Terran Mill vs. South Shore in the Warlords of Draenor expansion. Just standing in Grizzly Hills is a relaxing joy. Crisp air, chirping birds, snow-peaked mountains, and lush forests riddle the landscape. When not taking in the serene surroundings, players must forge alliances with local hunters and trappers in an attempt to defeat the Scourge and venture mining company hell-bent on destroying the land. Fan-favorite units from Warcraft 3 play a critical role in the conflict, notably mountain giants and furbolgs, and even Harrison Jones shows up for a daring jailbreak. Set pieces like the failed World Tree Vordrassel are as breathtaking to look at as they are to learn about. With Arthas and the Scourge defeated, we can only hope future events force us to revisit this majestic landscape. Although World of Warcraft certainly has more than one jungle, none of them compare with the landscape of Stranglethorn Vale. Filled with tigers, panthers, and gorillas, the zone is like a grand safari that masterfully instills a sense of adventure. Yet what makes Stranglethorn so distinguished is how much is going on within it. The arena hosts brutal PvP battles, Booty Bay is a thriving pirate city, encroaching ogres threaten fledgling settlements, and violent tribes of trolls serve as a constant terror. There are some excellent early zones in World of Warcraft, but it wasn't until Stranglethorn Vale when we knew what the game was capable of, and realized we'd be playing for years to come.